As Venezuela seems impatient to await the decision of the International Court of Justice to resolve a long-standing boundary dispute with Guyana, moves have been made by Venezuela to hold a 3rd December referendum that some believe could be a means to enable the use of military aggression against Guyana. At stake is the western two-thirds of Guyana, known as Essequibo, an area that was given to Guyana since the 19th century, but Venezuela believes it has a claim on the area much earlier. With the threat of military force being used by Venezuela, the Caribbean community issued an official statement to Venezuela. For St. Kitts and Nevis, both countries enjoy diplomatic relations, and for Venezuela, we celebrated recently the 40th year of diplomatic relations. When Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew was asked to provide St. Kitts and Nevis' official stance on the dispute, it was clear that the country's position aligned with the regional grouping on the CARICOM.
We have relations with both Guyana and we have relations also with Venezuela. Just recently, we celebrated the 40th anniversary. Our position is that this region is a region of peace. And as I've said before, that we will do all we can to control this region remains a region of peace. And so I know that discussions are taking place. I am not in a position to speak to all the specifics of those discussions. But the thrust of those discussions is to make sure that we remain a zone of peace and that the best position is reached to ensure that. That is where we are at with respect to our position with Venezuela and Guyana. And I think, well, I know the foreign minister mentioned it in his statement when he spoke at the ceremony, small ceremony, to commemorate the 40th year of establishment with respect to our relations between Guyana and, Venezuela and St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is our position, that we'll continue to make sure that we put our position forward and help in the process that this area remains a zone of peace and the best position is reached with respect to these two nations. And we're not going to compromise.
The CARICOM statement noted, however, that, quote, the referendum proposed by Venezuela has no validity, bearing, or standing in international law in relation to this controversy, end quote. It is believed that a successful referendum will undermine peace and security in the Caribbean region. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
On Monday, Premier Mark Brantley gave an update as Nevis's Minister of Tourism on the fire at Four Seasons Resort.
With full support of the resort, local authorities conducted an investigation of the recent fire at the fitness center and pro shop at Four Seasons Resort Nevis and determined the cause was related to a malfunctioning piece of equipment. The property engineering team, alongside external experts, are now reviewing mechanical and electrical equipment on property as they look to further enhance already stringent engineering and maintenance policies and procedures. Today, they are pleased to announce that the resort has been able to successfully relocate impacted fitness services. Beginning Saturday, November 4th, that is last Saturday, SureFit, a new and rebranded fitness center, will be conveniently located next to the Calypso pool. As a result, the kids' club will be temporarily relocated next to the gift shop. Golf, tennis, pickleball, and spa offerings are fully operational and available for guest employment. Four Seasons Resort Nevis would like to once again express its gratitude to its employees, guests, homeowners, partners, local officials, and the Nevis community for their ongoing support. They look forward to welcoming everyone back to their beautiful resort.
The Four Seasons Resort suffered a fire to its gym and pro shop last week. The Premier remarked on the resilience of the property and the Nevisian people in keeping the resort open. He pledged the government's support to Four Seasons where applicable. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
I'm feeling.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
According to an international media source, a group of Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian applicants started an online petition after failing to get back their money from the St. Kitts and Nevis Citizenship by Investment Program. Their applications for citizenship under the CBI were initially approved. Then the CIU later indicated to those applicants that there was a withdrawal of approval. The actions taken by the CIU are related to the international ban on Russia relating to the Russian-Ukraine war. At a November 2023 press conference of Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, the Prime Minister said the matter occurred under the previous Team Unity administration and is being allowed to proceed based on existing circumstances. But he said, however, that the matter is being addressed.
When we got into office, based on what was discussed, the program was stopped to these regions, as you know. Well, I don't know if you know, but it was before our time. They were stopped in June of 2022. March, sorry, of 2022. And therefore, based on what was happening, we continued the action. In terms of the return payment, of course, that, and I would say plainly, I've discussed that multiple times, and that is being dealt with as well. So it doesn't take a petition or anything. I don't know which petition that would be. I haven't seen any results of a petition. I don't know who is running this petition. So I can't speak to anything that is out there just on social media. I will speak to something that is official and give you the government's official position. However, the administrative aspect of that is being dealt with. That I can say, because I think we are responsible. But when you take over something, as I said before, they have to be audited, and one must have the requisite information. In terms of the return payment, of course, that, and I would say plainly, I've discussed that multiple times, and that is being dealt with as well. So it doesn't take a petition or anything. I don't know which petition that would be. I haven't seen any results of a petition. I don't know who is running this petition. So I can't speak to anything that is out there just on social media. I will speak to something that is official and give you the government's official position. However, the administrative aspect of that is being dealt with. That I can say.
The Prime Minister did not indicate how many applicants were involved or the amount of money that is to be returned to the applicants. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Over 30 beneficiaries of the Poverty Alleviation Program, PAP, are better equipped to navigate the world of work after a 3-week job training workshop which ran from October 17th to November 2nd at the St. Johnson's, Old Road and Newtown community centres and culminated with a closing ceremony at the NEMA conference room. According to a press release on the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, the workshop hosted by the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs in collaboration with the Ministry of Employment and Labour covered several important topics, including resume preparation and job search, workers' rights and the role of the Ministry of Employment and Labour, as well as work ethics and guidelines to maintain a job, including punctuality, respect and good customer service. Role plays, simulation exercises and mock interviews also formed part of the training, as did an important session on occupational health and safety, which allowed participants the opportunity to assess the hazards, safety features of local buildings. Ms. Lucinda Francis, Head of Employment and Training at the Ministry of Employment and Labour, explained that the workshop was targeted to unemployed persons who are currently receiving the PAP stipend but who were desirous of securing employment. An important aspect of the restructured PAP program, case management, assists beneficiaries to improve their financial situation and eventually graduate from the program through important self-development exercises on financial education, goal setting, and job interview training, amongst other topics. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The Finance Ministry, in a statement on Friday, reported that the most recent withdrawal from the Natural Resource Fund, which is being kept at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, is compliant with the approved 2023 budget as well as the Natural Resource Fund Act of 2021. On October 24, 2023, a total of Guyana $20.8 billion, or US $1 million, was withdrawn from the NRF in this year's sixth transfer, which was deposited into Consolidated Fund. Pursuant to Section 19 of the Natural Resource Fund Act of 2021, the Parliament authorized the withdrawal of a total of Guyana $208.9 billion, or US $1 billion, from the NRF in 2023 as a part of its review of the budget process. With the withdrawal last month, the total transactions made so far this year amount to Guyana $156 billion or US $750 million. The Natural Resource Fund Act of 2021 establishes a Natural Resource Fund to manage the natural resources of Guyana for the present and future benefit of the people and the sustainable development of the country. The PPPC government has said it will continue to work aggressively through sound and transformative investments of oil resources from the NRF, utilizing these resources clearly and transparently to the benefit of present and future generations. For the HGP 90 News, I am Carice Gonzalez.
Leader of the Senate and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kamina Johnson-Smith, is responding to critics from the opposition People's National Party who are calling for her resignation. The calls followed Jamaica's no vote at a United Nations General Assembly in support of a humanitarian truce in war-torn Gaza. The resolution aimed to protect Palestinians in Gaza amid death-dealing hostilities between Israel and Hamas. Speaking at a Jamaica Labour Party JLP divisional meeting in Oteria, St. Anne, Johnson-Smith says Jamaica's position on the matter is no secret.
This thing was about a vote in the UN, right? We never make a vote in the UN. But if she just did a little research, she would have known that Jamaica not only delivered a CARICOM statement, a statement on behalf of whole of CARICOM, including Jamaica, but we write the statement, we draft it, we led the discussions on it. So it's not a thing like nobody don't know where we stand on the issue.
Last week, the PMP described Jamaica's absence from the recent UN vote as a new low in Jamaican foreign policy. Opposition spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Lisa Hanna called for Smith's resignation and criticized the Wholeness-led JLP for appearing to hide behind a cloak of mystery regarding the Israeli-led genocide. Smith insists this is not the case.
A little communication thing happened, yes. And that is a problem, and we're going to fix that problem, but that is fine, because the people who understand the system, the people who understand that it got complicated on the day, different countries were suggesting all kind of different things that complicated the matter during the day. She said once you agree at the start of the process, then why should consultations? We are a consultative government. And then when you don't consult, you hear why you don't consult.
Johnson-Smith says the JLP remains committed to safeguarding Jamaica's interests on the global stage.
I want to tell you that Jamaica, we have a principled and a practical foreign policy, one that makes sure that everything we do overseas is with the interests of the Jamaican people in the front of our minds, and to be good partners with other countries to help us to build Jamaica better and stronger.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Israeli forces have carried out more raids in Tulkarm and Jenin refugee camps in the occupied West Bank. And in the past 12 hours, at least 2 people have been killed in raids in the town of Beit Anan and in Hebron. Mohammed Jamjoum is joining us now live from Tulkarm. So we're seeing more raids. Tell us about them.
So, Rob, the raid that happened here in the Tulkarm refugee camp in Tulkarm was the most intense of the raids that transpired that were carried out by the Israeli army throughout the occupied West Bank in the overnight hours of yesterday into today. The one that happened here took place over the course of at least 4 hours, starting around 2:30 a.m. We're told by residents they ended around 6:30 a.m. And we're told that they were intense clashes between Palestinian fighters here and members of the Israeli army. Now, let me show you a little bit about what we've seen here on this particular street. I'm going to let Osama move the camera around. So if you look about 20 meters up the road, you will see that parts of the road have been destroyed. That was done, the residents tell us, by the Israeli armed bulldozers that were here. Now, we're told that when those Israeli armored bulldozers came through this section, the Palestinian fighters actually lobbed explosives at those bulldozers. What you see going on behind that area up there, those are vehicles, equipment, machinery by the Tulkarm municipality. They're trying to repair this stretch of road so that the residents' lives can get a little bit easier after what happened last night. Let me just show you a little bit more But what we're seeing here today, of course, there are residents here, a lot of them telling us how nervous they are because of what happened. Over here to the left, where you see a bunch of people gathered, this is the house of one Palestinian man, and this house, we're told, was targeted by Israeli armed forces. They entered into the house, they damaged it severely. We're told that they even put explosives in there at one point and blew up part of the structure. So a lot of concern that this might actually continue. That's what we're hearing from residents, many of them saying this is collective punishment, that even if the Israeli army is coming in here, they tell us, to try to root out fighters, that they should not be punishing civilians. Now, this was not the only place in the occupied West Bank where there were raids that happened last night. You also had a raid taking place in the flashpoint city of Jenin, at the Jenin refugee camp. We're told there were intense clashes between Palestinian fighters as well as the Israeli army. And we also know of raids that took place in Hebron, and there was one Palestinian killed in a village near Hebron, where there were clashes that took place between the Israeli military and Palestinian fighters. Rob?
So, Mohammed, you've been showing us the situation in Tulkarm, but one would imagine there are different conditions across the occupied West Bank. What are things like for Palestinians across the broader West Bank?
Rob, I will tell you that one of the things that I've heard a lot from residents here today is that they are saying that they believe that the Israeli army is taking revenge out on them for what transpired on October 7th. I will tell you that the raids have intensified severely over the course of the last several weeks across the occupied West Bank. You have them happening on a nightly and daily basis. Even before then, they had become a near daily occurrence throughout 2023 in the occupied West Bank. It's something that has become part of the fabric of life in the occupied West Bank at a time when this is the deadliest year for Palestinians throughout the occupied West Bank. Even before October 7th, this was the deadliest year on record for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Since the UN started keeping those fatality records in 2005, just since October 7th, you've had more than 160 Palestinians killed in the occupied West Bank. Beyond that, you also have at least 2,150 Palestinians that have been arrested throughout the occupied West Bank. People here very nervous that the raids will only continue, that they will continue to be targeted not just by the military, but also by settlers. Rob?
Mohammed, thank you very much. Mohammed Jamjoom talking to us from Tulkarm.
And now let's take a look at the latest on the Australian Prime Minister's visit to China. A short time ago, Anthony Albanese met with China's Premier Li Qiang. It marked one of the final events before the trip concludes today. On Monday, Mr. Albanese met with China's leader Xi Jinping. The president praised his country's improved ties with Australia, saying the two sides had worked out some problems. In recent years, China and Australia have clashed on a number of political issues. Beijing imposed restrictions on Australian imports as well, some of which have since been lifted. Well, I discussed the key issues with Yun Jiang, a former policy advisor to the Australian government. I asked her about the significance of these talks.
It is a sign that the bilateral relationship has finally turned a corner. Many of the major frictions in the relationship was resolved or in the process of being resolved in preparation for this trip. So it is a very significant trip for both countries.
So what's been achieved?
Well, diplomatically speaking, the fact that the two governments are talking again. So in the last 5 years of the difficult relationship under the previous Australian government, the Chinese government has not really been engaged or willing to talk to the Australian government at all. And instead, it was very much focused on punishing Australia for its perceived transgressions against China's national interest. But now the two sides are talking again, and in practical outcomes, some of the trade sanctions have been lifted, and certainly one of the political prisoners, Chen Lei, has been released in the lead up to the trip as well.
Do you think the trade relationship, which of course is so important for both countries, it's been very, very strained, and that was what brought this to a head, really, in a major way, because for some parts of the Australian economy and Chinese, they've really felt the pain, haven't they?
Well, the Australian economy has been surprisingly resilient despite the trade sanctions. So several sectors have been hit very hard. For example, the wine industry in Australia, because there's not as big of a market elsewhere apart from China. But lots of other industries have found new markets, and certainly overall bilateral trade, that is export from Australia to China, has not actually declined despite the trade sanctions.
And the warming of the relationship that we've seen in the last 4 days, because of course Anthony Albanese has now finished his 4-day visit, what does it mean for China's participation in some other kind of trade groups within the region, that kind of thing?
So China is very keen to join the CPTPP. And Australia is, of course, being one of the original signatories, have a big influence on that. So that could be one of the areas that could be a potential for cooperation between the two countries. And there are still, but there are still outstanding trade disputes to be resolved before that can happen.
Yeah, there is a lot to discuss. That was Yuan Zhang there, who was a former advisor to the Australian government.
St. Kitts and Nevis is among one of 2 countries in the English-speaking Caribbean to be selected by FIFA to participate in its Talent Development Scheme, TDS, designed to discover and develop young football talent for long-term national success. The program is very involved with the National Football Academy and is aimed at enhancing the technical ability and development of young players of both genders, explained SKNFA Technical Director Lenny Taylor.
Well, the TDS is a wonderful program that just come on the board under the vision of Arsene Wenger. It gives us the opportunity to find the players at a young age, take care of their football deficiencies, and allow us to look down the road 4 or 5 years to see how we can prepare these kids, male and female, to bring a better football level in our CONCACAF Caribbean region.
St. Kitts and Nevis was chosen among 158 member associations that applied for the TDS. So how was it that the SKNFA was successful in being chosen for this highly anticipated program?
First, we did a technical development plan of what we wanted to do over the next 4 years, 4 or 5 years. And then we designed a program with that in mind, so we could move forward, put our ideas on paper, and it took about a year to finalize it, match it up with the technical plan, put it forward, and we're very happy that FIFA saw the intelligence in it and the fact that we understood that we were deficient, and in order to move forward, we had to do a few things.
Local coaches in the TDS will be supported by FIFA talent coach for St. Kitts and Nevis, Kevin McGreskin.
So my role here is to work with the association and to work together to help find the talent in the country, develop the talent in the country, develop the coaches that work with the talented players, to really give every talent a chance and provide opportunities for young players in this country to play the game at the highest levels, improve the competitiveness of the national teams, hopefully maybe go into professional playing careers and get other opportunities like further education through football.
Meanwhile, the various coaches and officials involved in the TDS shared their thoughts on the program and how they believe it will improve the future of football in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Starting this talent development scheme at this time, I think is a wonderful opportunity for us, looking on the backdrop of what has been happening to our senior women and other teams. So basically, I mean, for now, it is a step in the right direction, trying to harness the talent as early as possible. And Kevin is here for the next 2 years, and we're hoping that that would give us enough time to basically bring to the young boys and the young girls.
Being a part of this program, I basically here to learn as much as possible. So in the future, that I can better the football and the growth of the youths in St. Kitts with the knowledge I gained from this program.
I feel once we have this program, it's with these set, especially the younger set, because they're so young and you know they're like sponges. I feel like it will be a great opportunity for them now that we have this program in place.
The program we welcome is one that would change the direction of women's football in our federation. We welcome it. For our younger generation, we see that as a way, a means to elevate our young ladies on the professional scene at college level.
And I would like all of the young ladies in this country, St. Kitts and Nevis, to use this forum, this program, to their advantage to further their education.
The FIFA Talent Development Scheme, led by FIFA Chief of Global Football Development, Arsene Wenger, aims to help member associations to fulfill their potential by ensuring that every talented player has a chance to be detected and developed.